Hi, happy Girls in STEM Day in the state of Texas. We are excited to welcome people in to celebrate this day and to celebrate all things girls in STEM. As folks are joining in and getting logged in, I will get my screen sharing here. Oh, it may not be doing that. Hold on. There we go. All right. So again, welcome to Texas Girls in STEM Day. We are excited to have you all join us today in this celebration. We have a number of partners that are making our webinars for today happen. We have Texas Partnerships for Out of School Time, Texas Girls Collaborative Project, Million Girls Moonshot, and of course, Women in STEM at the University of Texas at Austin. My name is Tricia Berry. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Executive Director for Women in STEM, and I'm thrilled to be your host for today, along with a number of fabulous panelists that you're going to get to know here in a moment. This is also a featured event of the Texas Science Festival, and this festival is running into March, so please check out the events and webinars and all of the things that are taking place with the Texas Science Festival that you might want to join in on as well. If you want to find more fabulous STEM role models, fabfems.org is an amazing STEM role model database where you can search on all kinds of different factors, different types of roles, different locations, different types of experiences, and find STEM role models to connect with, to learn more about what they're doing in STEM and perhaps find some new pathways you might be interested in. And then last but not least, all of our Girls in STEM Day webinars are being recorded, and you will be able to find them on our at UT WiSTEM Women in STEM YouTube channel. And we'll have those uploaded by the end of the week for you to be able to enjoy. And while you're there on our YouTube channel, please check out all of the other STEM role model videos that we have already posted. So with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen so that we can get to our panel and you can get to meet these fabulous panelists and learn a little bit more about them. This webinar is focusing on STEM pathways with women in STEM undergraduates at UT Austin. We're going to have each panelist share a quick introduction here in just a moment to get us started. And then after introductions, we will have a facilitated panel. I'll ask them some pre-selected questions, and then we'll also take questions from you, from the audience. So you can use that Q&A space to submit questions at any time. And we have with us Robin Lindsay, who's our outreach program coordinator from Women in STEM, who's going to help moderate those questions and jump in if we have some questions that come in along the way. And we'll definitely have time at the end as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our students and let them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about who they are and where they're at in school, where they're from, and also share with us a hobby, something out of school that they like to do. So Tanya and Jennifer and Monica and Ishani, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tanya, do you want to start?
Yes, I will. Hi, everyone. My name is Tonya Tyro. My pronouns are she, her. I'm from Sugar Land, Texas, and I went to Hightower High School in Missouri City. Right now, I'm currently pursuing a Bachelor's of Science in Public Health. I am a sophomore, and I guess my favorite out-of-school hobby is definitely reading. I've been reading a lot more outside of classes recently, and I'm really enjoying it.
That's a nice break from all the technical things.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thanks, Tanya. Shani, how about you? Oh, she might be frozen. Let's go to Monica.
Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Hernandez. My pronouns are she, hers. I went to high school in a little small town in Texas, East Texas. It's called Nacogdoches. I went to Nacogdoches High School. I'm currently pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience with a certificate in Elements of Computing. I'm in my 3rd year, and one of my hobbies right now is crocheting and making jewelry.
So getting crafty in your spare time. That's awesome. That's a nice break also from all of the technical classes. All right, Jennifer, let's hear from you.
Hi, y'all. So my name is Jennifer Octaviano. I am from Houston, Texas. I attended Northbrook High School, close by the Spring Branch Memorial area. I am pursuing a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering. I am a 3rd year right now, and I would say my out of school activity is just running. I actually will start I just started running a little bit more, not too long ago. I'm not a great person at running long distances, but I just like to run a mile every once when I can.
That's awesome. That kind of clears your head, I'm sure, and gets you out there in nature, which is always a good thing. Thank you. Ishani, how about you?
So hi everyone, I'm Ishani. My pronouns are she, her. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I went to Allen High School. I'm a 4th year public health and international relations major at UT, and I'm also pursuing my master's in public health through a joint program here. Outside of school and work, I'm a part of an editorial magazine called Saffron for South Asian creatives, and I enjoy doing hair and makeup for the shoots.
Awesome. Well, I love all of those creative endeavors that you all shared that you do along with your STEM studies. So let's dive in a little bit more, and we'll maybe go backwards in order this time, and start with you, Ishani, and then we can just keep going through all of you. Let's hear a little bit more about your major. How did you decide on this major? What excites you about that major, and what are you hoping to do with that major when you graduate?
So as a public health major, I'm more interested in population health and the more preventative side of healthcare as opposed to traditional curative medicine. I decided on my major during COVID, where I felt like we were in a state of public health crisis. And I just realized that I wanted to be a part of that change to just make the field, I guess, better prepared. I hope to work in the global health sector and just work with different health systems to create a more equitable future in healthcare.
All right, Jennifer.
Yeah, so what excited me about my major, I was actually pretty indecisive as to what area I wanted to go into civil engineering. Just to name a couple of areas you can go into the structural analysis side, which is more of the structural buildings. You can go into transportation, but I actually decided more to lean on towards transportation because I had summer programs that I attended previously to coming into my 1st year in college, in which I talked to a bunch of panelists of women in engineering who were also civil. And they were talking about the transportation system, and I think even then, here in Austin, there's so much you can improve for our transportation system, considering that traffic congestion is super bad. And I think that with the hope of my major, I do eventually want to take this outside of the United States. I want to be able to join probably a nonprofit for a couple of months and help out less developed countries improve their transportation. And then as well, I'm hoping to, besides that, just work either in the public or private sector.
Great, thank you. Monica.
Yes, so through my high school, I was a part of the STEM Academy, and we would go through different topics within STEM, and one of those was neuroscience. And it was very interesting to me because we hadn't really covered it as much in my biology courses in high school. So it's definitely something that stood out to me, how the brain can affect all of the facets in your life. So I knew I wanted to major in that when I came to college. And with my major, I hope to eventually go to medical school and hopefully become a neurologist one day.
Awesome, thank you. Antonia.
Just like Monica, I am also pre-med, but specifically with public health, I've always been interested in maternal medicine and really just maternal health in general, ever since high school. And because it is, I guess, something that really does impact individuals within a community, and then also I guess there's like a lot of public health crises or crises kind of surrounding maternal health, especially when you think about high maternal mortality and morbidity rates within the US, and then within specific demographics, it's even larger. And really just wanting to study that and I guess do my part to be informed so that I can one day combat it as a practicing physician. That's really what I guess drove me towards majoring in public health.
That's awesome. I love that all of your stories are talking about that personal impact that you want to have and making our world a better place in some form or fashion, whichever direction through STEM you are coming at it from. And you talked about, many of you were talking about those experiences that you have had in high school or otherwise that are kind of leading you into these spaces and helping to direct where you want to go, which I think is why sharing things like today's webinar is so important, because you're sharing stories that someone else might hear that sparks their interest as well. The more we know, the more we have ideas of those pathways we want to take. So thank you for that. So let's dive even a little bit deeper, because you talked a little bit kind of high level about your majors and what made you head into those spaces. But as I'm sure you all know, it's still hard to wrap your brain around, what does this major actually do? What are the things that a student might do? What are projects? What do they look like in these different disciplines? So can you each share about a project or a research experience or a job that you've had in your different STEM disciplines so that we can get that little bit deeper detail about what your STEM discipline is all about? And anyone who's ready, jump on in. Or I can keep calling out. Tonia's ready.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'm a part of an organization called Dell Medical School Health Leadership Apprenticeship Program. And one amazing thing about UT is that because we are so connected to Dell Medical School, there's a lot of opportunities for undergrads here through the school. And so I'm currently working with a team I'm working on a project with a team to basically determine how informed faculty and students and staff are about human trafficking, especially students and faculty within the School of Nursing, School of Social Work, within Dell Medical School itself, and other schools in which individuals are being trained to eventually become healthcare professionals. And human trafficking is a huge issue that a lot of people are really just uninformed about. And a lot of times, because of just how serious the situation is, individuals who may be experiencing human trafficking, their interactions that they may be having with their physicians or their social workers are the only times that they get alone away from, I guess, the person who is controlling them in that scenario. And having professionals that are trained to correctly respond to these situations, to notice the signs, and then to be able to respond appropriately is extremely important. And that education doesn't start when you're a professional, it starts while you're still in school. And so basically right now we're kind of just like in the gathering information stage before we actually implement or suggest any training processes. But yeah, that's definitely something that I think is related to public health. And it's definitely something that I do enjoy doing because it is a very serious issue.
That's fantastic. And I think that's a great example of how you are learning those skills and learning that information that is directly applicable to the things that you would do when you get out there into the real world upon graduation, and the important work that undergrads do right in the middle of faculty and staff and everybody else on these projects as well. Yes. Awesome. All right. Who's ready next? Jennifer?
Yeah, I can go ahead and share next. So I've actually had a couple of instances with my major. I've been grateful to already have like 2 internships in my civil engineering field. And one of the first one was focused on wastewater and water engineering. And one of my big projects is I had to be able to determine like why a certain neighborhood was flooding a lot. So of course I had to work on with Civil 3D. Personally, I didn't have any software experience at all. I kind of learned all of my software during my internship, which is something that happens pretty often in engineering. And then my second internship has been here in the North Austin office at Kimley Horn, in which I work with roadways. So most of my big projects were creating bike lanes, creating roads. So kind of learning a little bit more of the process of how like the construction goes and like the design that goes into it. And then I guess like one like thing that has been really interesting so far has been I'm currently taking a class that focuses on properties and behaviors of materials. So I was able to understand like how do you actually create concrete, like what goes into the mixture. And I was actually able to create my piece of concrete and I took it home. So that has been one of them. I think that has been like the biggest thing that has like impacted me a lot during my major.
That's awesome. When you get to touch it and feel it, it makes it way more real and makes it make sense. That's awesome. And I think you brought up an important point. And I think that we have this misconception a lot of times that we have to know it all. We have to understand it all. We have to be able to code to go into these fields. We have to be experts in the math and the science before we even go study it. And that's not the case. And as you mentioned, you learned in those internships, you learn in those classes, you are learning as you go so that you can go out there and continue to learn and continue to figure it out. And in STEM fields, you don't ever know it all. There's always more to learn. And so I think that helping others understand that it's okay to not know it all. It's okay to not be an expert. It's okay to not know how to code at all and come into college and study STEM fields. And that is perfectly fine. You will learn along the way. The other thing I just wanted to ask you as a follow-up, Jennifer, because you mentioned that you found your passion with transportation and are excited about that, but you had an internship or an experience in water and wastewater, which was a different area. How does that learning other aspects of your discipline help you come to the transportation side of things that you do most enjoy?
Yeah, I think most of the part, like I was pretty undecisive as to what area I wanted to go into civil engineering, right? So I kind of felt like it was better for me to get a bigger idea as to what are the different areas, what does it involve, what am I actually going to get myself into if I do decide on that specific area, right? And I remember with wastewater and water, like it was interesting and like it's great knowing about pipes and water flow and etc. But also, I think once you get into once I got into roadway, I actually learned that I had a little bit of everything within civil engineering. I actually still dealt with drainage, except this time I had to do like pavement roads. I learned more about what does it mean with taking a piece of land and creating it into a road? What does it involve, right? So I think it's better for you to get yourself out there and knowing more about your area, explore more. Don't feel the need that you just have to do like one specific thing, because for sure that's what kind of led me into like, oh, like I think transportation would be a good area because I am able to get myself around the rest of like the areas that are involved within civil engineering.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Ashani, how about you?
Okay, so I currently work for the IC Square Institute at UT, which I would describe as a think and do tank. So I'm currently working on an IRB proposal for a focus group session that we're planning to hold in order to kind of gain feedback on the user interface experience for a mental health app that we're designing. And the app is meant to reduce symptoms of major depressive disorder and generalized anxiety. And I'm able to learn a lot through my job because even though I'm not directly involved in the app design or app making process, I'm still able to work with the app developers that we're collaborating with, and then they're able to give feedback on what to include in the proposal, what they might want to ask, and what feedback they need.
That's awesome. And what a great example of where STEM all comes together, right? You've got all kinds of people behind the scenes that are coming together to share their different expertise and to share their different insights to make the app that would go out there for people to use. And I think that's a great example of what happens in STEM a lot of times. We think sometimes maybe the app, it's just the coders, and it's just the computer scientist. And there's so many more people and different STEM backgrounds that have to come into some of these different types of tools that we use every day. So that's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. When you learned that you were going to be working on an app, did you have some of this, did you have some worries or concerns of, I don't know how to code, I don't know anything about an app like this, what do I do? Did you have any of that anxiety that might have come with it? And then if so, what did you maybe do to move past that?
Right. I feel like when I first learned about that, I was definitely very intimidated because I felt like the only experience that I have is just taking an introduction to biostatistics course through my major, which I guess is helpful because you learn Stata and R, which are both coding languages, but it's definitely nothing compared to, you know, the languages that you need to learn for like app design. So, but I felt like this just gave me more exposure into that, and everybody's like really collaborative and you know, willing to clarify like any doubts I had about anything. So I felt like that was a good experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, and again, just that a great example of that teamwork that comes together to create something on the other end. That's awesome. And we all have those doubts when you jump into a new project, no matter what it is. You always have that little bit of anxiety that you feel, and then you've got team members to help you get through that. That's awesome. All right, Monica, let's hear about you.
So I'm currently co-authoring a systematic review with other neuroscience majors through my research lab about CRISPR delivery systems and glioblastoma. And it's my first time writing a paper of this caliber. So it's kind of been of a learning process. But like I mentioned, it's a group of us that are writing this paper. So we're all kind of depending on each other and working as a team to compile all of the research that's been done so far on CRISPR delivery systems in relation to glioblastoma. And we're currently screening full text and just getting ready to write our manuscript and hopefully get published in the summer.
Oh, that's exciting. That is exciting. And another great example of that teamwork that comes together to create that product. And I think you're bringing up another piece that kind of hits on a stereotype that we often have, or that's out there in the world about STEM people who can't communicate. And writing is such a critical piece to be able to document what we learn and to document the research and document what happens so that other STEM folks behind us can learn from that as well and move forward and create new solutions. So that's a great example also. Thank you. Those are great examples you all shared that kind of give a little bit more insight into your disciplines and what you are doing. So today is about Texas Girls in STEM Day. It's about celebrating girls in STEM with the hopes that we get more and more girls heading into these STEM fields. What does it mean to you to be a woman in STEM? Monica, you want to kick us off on this one?
Yes. So being a woman in STEM for me is sort of being someone that little girls can look up to and be like, oh, I can do what she's doing, and I can have all of these resources that will help me get there. So more of like that representation that sometimes it's hard to see and visualize yourself doing all of these things in STEM. I think that's what being a woman in STEM means to me, being that representation for little girls everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you. Tanya.
To me, being a woman in STEM means being resilient. There are definitely a lot of hardships that you'll face, especially if you are entering into a STEM field or you're interested in a STEM field that is male dominated, or in which you are a minority, or maybe you grew up in an environment or you have a background in which there's not a lot of people who did what you're interested in. It can feel very isolating, but even though, you know, you may feel alone in your specific field or your specific specialty, as women in STEM, all of us, we kind of have I guess, a similar goal and similar ambitions, and really just realizing that you are part of a larger community and that you can do it. Like, you have what it takes to, reach your goals. You have what it takes to accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish. Really just, having that mindset that you can do it regardless of what's happening around you, regardless of the setbacks, you can do it.
Awesome. Thank you. Ashani.
I think similarly, Women in STEM definitely gave me a sense of belonging in a group of like-minded individuals, kind of going through the same rigor of classes with similar future goals, and just being a part of a community and having that sense of belonging.
Awesome. And Jennifer.
Yeah, I think for me, similar to adding to Tani, Shani, and Monica, I think it just means being a role model in the STEM community as well. I feel like you're an intelligent and powerful woman who is able to break the boundaries of, dominating a world where it's pretty much dominated by men. And I think even then, like, I see it now still, like, I can give an example, like, in my lab, there's only 2 girls out of 9 boys. Which shows a lot. And I think it shows a lot of strength. You at times you may feel undermined and be like, oh, I can't do it. But honestly, you can. And like Tanya had mentioned, like, you are part of a community who are also have similar goals as you, aspirations. So I think that's what it means for being a woman in STEM.
Awesome. Well, you all are definitely STEM role models. So I appreciate you all sharing and being a part of that community, and hopefully helping some others feel a part of that community as well, and know that they can do it too. So Robin, do we have any questions that have come in for our panelists at this time?
No, we don't have any questions yet, but if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A so we can ask our lovely panelists some questions and get to know them a little bit better.
All right, so type away in that little Q&A pod, and we'd be happy to answer questions that you have. Otherwise, I can keep asking all kinds of questions to them. And I'll get us started with one more, and then we've got a closing question that we'll come to here in a little bit if we don't have any more questions in the Q&A. So my additional question to you all is, what has been the most surprising for you in your journey thus far as a woman in STEM and an undergraduate STEM major? Good or bad surprise? Anybody?
I can go. So definitely the most surprising is how supportive everyone is in STEM. Like, coming in, it's like, oh, everyone's out for themselves. Everyone's only looking after themselves. But coming here to UT, it's been a very supportive community, always working together to get to achieve greater things here at UT.
That's awesome. It's a good surprise. Tanya?
Yeah, I would say the most surprising thing for me was how interested I was in disciplines outside of my major. Because I mean, in high school, I went to like a medical science academy. So it's like from the jump, I've kind of had this mindset that I'm going to be a doctor. I'm interested in like medicine, and like that's kind of where I'm going to go. And then I come into college and I randomly take a computer science class and I love it. And I feel like really just realizing that you don't have to put yourself in a box, and that college is for exploration and figuring out new things. That was definitely the most surprising, but it's been a very pleasant surprise.
That's awesome.
I think similarly, going after what Tanya said, I think the number of opportunities that you're exposed to in college is the most surprising thing. Like, you can pick up whatever, it doesn't even have to do with your major. Like, you can pick up like any internship, like any fellowship. Obviously it's good to have like experience to be accepted into it, but like in general, like, you can do things that you're genuinely interested in just because you want to. And I feel like that's like the biggest, most like surprising thing. Because similarly, like in high school, like I would do very like either like medical related things or things that I thought I was supposed to be doing, but now is generally just about building that experience for me.
I think the thing that has been the most surprising for me is actually how supportive the engineering community is overall, especially within civil. I expected to be, like I said, like undermined by men, but actually, like it was actually pretty surprising how like communicative you can be with a guy, and how much like they don't try to make you less or anything like that. They actually appreciate that you're there. And I actually still have like a couple guy friends who are within civil engineering, and I think I was expecting the opposite, but it's definitely not like that here at UT.
All right, Robin, it looks like maybe some questions have come in.
Yes, we have several questions now. So I'm going to go in order. So the first question is, what's your student starter pack? What have you found to be the best method to take notes or understand your professors? And anyone can answer this.
Yeah, so I think sitting towards the front of the classroom is always a great way to start, because you're much more engaged and you can see the board, and that way the professor sees you sitting in the front. As far as note taking goes, I think it varies between the courses you'll take. But personally, I prefer handwriting notes because I feel like it consolidates that information much better.
I think adding on to what Monica said as well, it really depends on what's your preference with taking notes. At first, I was also an individual who would like handwritten notes, but then I felt more organized in my iPad. So I keep all, even though it's still like handwritten, right? I keep everything in my iPad. And I think it's just adding on, sorry, I think it's also like to understand professors as well. If you feel like you don't, attending like their office hours, like extra like tutorials that they offer, I think that's really great as well. So that would be like my advice.
Okay. Those are really good suggestions, especially sitting close. I know there's like a stigma about sitting close in class, but I promise you, no one's going to care. Everybody's trying to get their degree and they're just there to learn just like you. All right, next question is, what was an opportunity you had while in college that helped you strengthen your skills?
I can take this one. For me personally, being a part of a lab really helped me strengthen my skills. I feel like it's kind of a generic answer, but there's a lot of things that I learned in lab. I learned how to be, I guess, a better research writer. I learned how to work with a team because I was always a very like individualistic person. I like to do things by myself because I really just didn't trust anybody else to get the work done. But really learning to rely on other people and delegate things. I also learned how to be an analytical thinker, how to be a problem solver. I'm not necessarily saying that you have to join a lab in order to like, I guess, have all of these skills, but it was definitely something that helped me realize a lot of things and then gain a lot of skills that I was then able to apply to other areas of my academics and then other areas of my life in general.
I think similarly, I felt like being in a lab also helped me like problem solve. So kind of I would get like weird data or like a weird yield, and then but then I would have to like backtrack and figure out like why I got that, and then try to like provide like justify why I might have gotten that yield. And I feel like thinking back over that really was good for like problem solving, and like I felt like that's an important skill to have.
I think for me, it was taking my intro to design courses. Like I said, I didn't come with any background with designing. So just as well with those projects, I work with other students. So it was kind of like knowing how to work together in a big project as well. And as well, I would like to add on that my labs have been very helpful. I get to practice my Excel skills just because I think I know it's pretty common to know Excel in your work field. So.
All right, those were some great answers. Our next question is, what were some of the challenges you faced pursuing your education in STEM, and how did you overcome it?
For me, I guess one challenge that I faced was, I guess, this feeling of like imposter syndrome and feeling inadequate within, I guess, what I was interested in doing. It sometimes, you'll take classes and it seems like people around you are understanding things much quicker than you are. And then you kind of like get in your head like, oh, maybe I'm not cut out for this, or oh, maybe, I don't know, you just start having lots of doubts and lots of terrible thoughts start popping up. And that was definitely a challenge. But realizing that, again, I guess learning to, one, not compare myself, and then also giving myself grace and realizing that I'm doing the best that I can do, and that, I'm on my own journey. I'm separate from everybody else. And like, even if it takes someone like 5 minutes to figure something out and it takes me like 2 hours, at the end of the day, I still figure it out. And so really just, I guess, being self-motivated and not comparing yourself to other people is definitely something that I had to learn. And it's honestly, I'm still working on it, but it was a challenge, but we get through.
That was a wonderful answer. So there's another question that's kind of similar to that one, and it says, did you ever, or have you ever maybe been insecure about the lack of knowledge in your field? If so, how did you get over this insecurity?
I feel like it's okay to not know, like, you're not gonna know everything about everything. So it's okay to not know like certain things about like a topic that you've just first been exposed to. But I feel like you can definitely get over that insecurity by just like maybe talking to people that actually have like expertise in that field. And it could be your professor, or it could be also like your peers, because a lot of your peers are going to be smarter than you, and that's okay. Like, they're like, the community you will find, like, they're very like supportive. So I feel like talking to people and like learning from their experiences is always like a knowledge base that you can rely on, and like collaborating is like really important.
And I think a part of that learning experience is making mistakes and learning how to get past them, and sort of filling in the gaps in your knowledge. Because like Ishani said, you're not going to come in knowing everything in your STEM field. It's a learning process. And I think just finding that community that will help you get through it, whether it may be your friends, your classmates, your professors, your TAs, you'll be able to overcome that.
Yes, learn to fail and be okay with failing, because it's all a part of the process. All right, we have a few more questions that have come in, so I'm going to just go through them. What has been the most valuable resource for each of you, so everyone has the answer, throughout college?
I would say my friends, my peers. Again, I was not the type of person that liked group work. I wasn't the type of person that liked to ask for help. I really convinced myself that I could do everything on my own, and then college quickly taught me that I can't. And really just using my friends, I guess, not only as emotional support, but then also academic support, because there were some things that they were understanding that I just wasn't. And it was always nice to have a study group and to be able to go over practice problems with people, especially when OChem was really beating my behind last semester. And yeah, I guess really just having a solid group of people to lean on.
I think adding on to what Tanya said as well, I think my greatest resource besides like friends has been the mental health center here at UT. As a woman in STEM, like I feel like at some point you have to come across a circumstance where you're gonna feel like imposter syndrome or feel very anxious. So I think taking advantage of the mental health center helped me a lot. I was able to talk to the therapist and help me understand that, it's going to be okay and I got this. And I think adding on, I also took advantage a lot of office hours from my professors. I think those become really handy, especially for exams a lot. I think those have been like my greatest resources so far.
I think my greatest resources, STEM can be a very difficult field. And so finding a way to relieve that stress through different activities, whether it may be going on a walk or finding a new hobby, I think those resources help sort of relieve that stress that comes with being in STEM.
I think my greatest resource for like my college career has been LinkedIn and Handshake, because I feel like I have reached out to so many people through that platform, like alumni and stuff that kind of had experience in something that I wanted to do, and just like reach out to them and asked to get like you call them coffee chats, but basically just reach out to them and see if you can like have like a phone call interview or something with them, like a Zoom meeting, just to ask them about their field. And so they'll usually say yes, and then you can gain insight into like how they got to where they are and what they would recommend to you. And I feel like doing that definitely like exposed me to the opportunities I have available, and like gave me a lot of the internships and fellowships that I was able to like gain just by reaching out to them and them telling me where to apply.
All right, thank you all for sharing. We do have several Q&A questions in the Q&A box, but since we are about to wrap up this webinar, we want to go ahead and allow you to type the answers into the Q&A box, and we are going to wrap up. I will give it back to Trisha.
Great questions. I wish we had more time to answer all of them, and our panelists maybe are typing quickly to answer a few more questions for you as we are asking them one last question to wrap up. And I think they shared some things along the way in their previous responses, but let's wrap up with one closing question for everyone quickly. If you had one quick piece of advice to share with high school students considering STEM majors, your STEM major or another STEM major, what would be a piece of advice that you would give to them? Let's start with Tonya.
A piece of advice. I would say don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to realize that what you thought you wanted is not what you wanted anymore. I have a lot of friends that I guess we came into college together. We were all pre-med, and a lot of them are not pre-med anymore, and they couldn't be happier. And it's like, honestly, just realizing that, oh, maybe I'm not interested in medicine. I'm interested in biostats, or I'm interested in something completely different. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it can feel like, oh, you're kind of stressed out, like I don't know what step to make next, and I feel like all of my plans have been derailed. There are so many resources on campus to help you get back on track, and college is honestly the perfect place to have these realizations. So if it feels like you don't know what you want to do, or you might end up changing your mind later, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, give yourself the grace to change your mind.
Awesome, thank you. Ashani, what about you?
I think similarly, don't be afraid to not pursue an internship or an experience or join an org just because you think it doesn't relate to your major. If you're interested in it, do it, because that's what's going to add to your like pool of experience. And like you might realize that you actually like this and you want to pursue this in the future. So yeah, don't say no to an experience just because you feel like it's not streamlined to your future career goal.
Awesome. Thank you. Monica.
I say don't be afraid to put yourself out there. We're all out here trying to learn, and we're all bound to make mistakes at some point. So it's completely fine. Just put yourself out there.
Awesome. And Jennifer.
I think as well, I'll explore outside of STEM as well, or explore within the majors of STEM. I think if you end up pursuing anything within the STEM field, always put yourself first. Self-care is always better than your academics. So always put yourself first.
Awesome. Well, what great advice and what great stories that you all shared with everyone. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who joined in today. Thank you to our fabulous panelists who put themselves out there and said yes today, even though it might have been scary to be on a webinar. They did a phenomenal job. And thank you to Texas Partnership for Out of School Time and the Million Girls Moonshot for supporting us today as we celebrate Texas Girls in STEM Day. We do have 2 more webinars coming up this afternoon, one at 4:30 with some fabulous STEM role models and alumni who are here to tell us about their professional experiences in the workplace. And then we wrap up with one more webinar with an 8th grader and a high school student and a college student telling us about their experiences, along with the founder of the House bill in Texas that launched Texas Girls in STEM Day at 5:30. So you'll find all of those on the website I shared here in the chat. And again, thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Robin for facilitating the question and answer so fabulously. And with that, we will thank you all, and hopefully we will see you later today. Have a great rest of your day. And again, happy Texas Girls in STEM Day. Bye, everybody.